But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. You don't need me to tell you how hard it is to forgive someone who's hurt you. You already know. Maybe it was a friend who betrayed your trust. Maybe a parent who never seemed to love you the way you needed. Maybe a coworker who threw you under the bus. Maybe it's deeper, someone who left scars you still carry today. Most of us live with a quiet list, written not in ink but in memory, of the people who wronged us. Their names resurface in the middle of the night. Their words echo in our minds when we're already tired. Sometimes we replay the scenes, imagining what we should have said, what we could have done. Resentment becomes its own companion, heavy but familiar. And then we hear Jesus say, love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you. If we're honest, most of us don't hear that as good news at first. We hear it as impossible, or maybe unfair. It can sound like Jesus is asking us to ignore our pain, to pretend that harm wasn't harm, to let people keep hurting us. And maybe you've heard it taught that way before, as if forgiveness means being a doormat, or love means excusing injustice. But that's not the Jesus I know, and it's not what he meant. Welcome to Gentle Life Church, a space where the sacred whispers to the soul. Here, we embrace simplicity, depth, and the courage to ask life's real questions. If you believe in a faith that heals, not one that harms, you're in the right place. Let's walk this path together. To understand this verse, we need to place it where Jesus placed it, in the middle of a world already shaped by another saying, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. That old command came from the law of Moses, and in its time it wasn't cruel. It was actually restraint. It was meant to stop violence from spiraling out of control. If someone harmed you, the law said the punishment couldn't be greater than the harm done. No killing a man for stealing your sheep. No endless revenge that escalates until entire families are destroyed. But here's the thing, even limits don't stop the cycle. Eye for an eye still leaves two blind men standing in the street. Tooth for a tooth still means broken mouths on both sides. And when every wound demands another wound, nobody really heals. That's a world most of us know too well. We see it in our families, siblings holding grudges for decades. We see it in politics, one insult answered with another, until nobody listens anymore. We see it online, strangers turning comment sections into battlefields. And maybe we see it in our own hearts, the little wars we keep fighting long after the moment has passed. So when Jesus says, but I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, he isn't dismissing justice. He isn't saying pain doesn't matter. He's offering something better. Jesus is saying, you don't have to live chained to the cycle. You don't have to keep carrying someone else's cruelty inside your chest. To love your enemy doesn't mean you suddenly like them. It doesn't mean you pretend what happened was okay. It doesn't mean trusting someone who has shown they can't be trusted. Love in Jesus' language isn't about warm feelings. It's about choosing not to let bitterness rule your heart. It's about saying, I won't repay hate with hate. I won't let your actions decide the kind of person I become. This isn't weakness, it's strength, because it's far easier to strike back than to stop the chain. Anyone can throw another stone, but it takes courage to lower your hand and say, not this time. Think about a family conflict. Maybe you've had a holiday ruined by an argument at the table. One person makes a sharp comment, another responds, And before long, everyone's speaking louder than they're listening. When you leave, the words replay in your head. Days later, you're still angry. Weeks later, you're still keeping score. Or think about the workplace. Someone takes credit for your idea, or gossip behind your back. You want to expose them, embarrass them the way they embarrass you. It feels justified. But the more you plot, the less peace you have. Or think about our world online. How easy it is to see a post you disagree with and fire back with sarcasm, with anger, with contempt. We don't just disagree with people, we start to dehumanize them. This is a soil where hate grows, and Jesus plants a seed in that soil. Pray for them. Speak their name, not in cursing, but in prayer. Not because they deserve it, not because it erases what they did, but because prayer pulls the poison out of us before it consumes us. Jesus didn't just say these words, he lived them. When soldiers nailed him to a cross, he prayed, "Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing." He refused to let the hammering of their hands dictate the posture of his heart. When he shared meals, he didn't avoid those who opposed him. He sat at tables with Pharisees who criticized him. He spoke gently to the ones who came in secret, unsure of what to believe. When Peter denied him 3 times, the same Peter who swore he'd never leave, Jesus didn't return after the resurrection with a grudge. He made breakfast on the shore. He asked Peter 3 times, "Do you love me?" He gave back dignity instead of shame. That's what it looks like when love your enemies becomes flesh and blood. Not abstract, not naïve. Real love in the middle of real wounds. So how do we begin? We start small. Start with prayer. If you can't imagine forgiving someone, start by speaking their name in prayer. You don't have to pray fancy words. You can say, "God, I don't know how to love them. I don't even want to. But help me not to be consumed by hate." That's enough to begin. See the person, not just the harm. This doesn't excuse what they did, but it reminds us they are more than their worst moment. The coworker who wronged you is also a parent, or a child, or someone carrying wounds you can't see. Recognizing their humanity doesn't make your pain smaller. It makes your heart freer. Choose gentleness over revenge. This doesn't mean staying silent when you should speak truth. It means when you respond, you refuse to mirror the harm done to you. Gentleness is strength under control. And remember, this is a journey. You won't wake up tomorrow suddenly able to love every enemy. You may take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's okay. Jesus isn't grading your progress. He's walking with you. Here's a hope I want you to carry. Jesus never asks without walking beside us. When he says, "Love your enemies," he isn't tossing you into the deep end alone. He's showing you the lighter way, because the burden of bitterness is heavy. The weight of revenge is exhausting. But his way, though harder at first, is the only way that leads to peace. So maybe this week you try a simple practice. Before bed, name the person you can't forgive. Instead of rehearsing the wound, whisper a prayer. "God, hold him, and hold me too." That's it. That's the beginning. And in time, you may find your chest feels lighter, your nights quieter, your heart softer. Not because what they did was okay, but because Jesus is freeing you from carrying it forever. Love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you. It isn't a rule meant to crush us. It's an invitation meant to heal us. And it begins not with perfection, but with a step. You're not alone. You're not beyond hope. And you're still invited. Before you go, remember to be kind to yourself. Breathe deeply. Drink some water. And remember, you're not alone. If this message meant something to you, consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with someone who needs it. And if you'd like to support what we're doing here, spreading the message of Jesus in a softer, kinder way, we wrote a little book. It's gentle, honest, and full of second chances. You can find the link in the video description. Every copy helps us keep going and maybe reach someone who's quietly looking for hope. We're the Gentle Life Church. Faith without fear. Love without limits. A fresh start. And it begins with you.